to the state. And now families don't know how to teach their children well anymore because their parents just sent them to school. And so all these homeschooling parents were not homeschooled, most of them. They went to public school or maybe even private school, and they're just replicating that at home. And it isn't producing the results that it could. And I think it's way more time and way more stressful than it has to be. And these women are going to get burned out doing it this way.
Well, I think that there's different generations of that culture, right? The homeschool culture. So people that are just getting into it, I don't think it's really a malicious thing. It's more of like just they don't know. They don't know how to really do things, and so they're doing the best that they think that they can do. But I mean, I don't. How many generations of homeschooling are you in?
I was in public school, so I never even, I think there was one kid in my public school in my band class that was homeschooled. And that's the only homeschool kid I ever met. So I'm kind of making it up as I go.
Yeah, because I mean, I was
But
homeschooled. My parents were not. Um, so like, I'm kind of the first generation of my lineage that was homeschooled. So I'm almost like, so you weren't, but I was. So I'm like the spawn of that, um, that style of raising kids, which I think it's better. I think there's more personality involved with people that are raised at home, and um, I mainly learned from the internet, which is kind of a whole new concept that my parents kind of rolled the dice with because they didn't really know how the future outcomes of that would be, in the same way that we don't know what it's like to have children watch Cocomelon for 8 hours a day. um, it's like we should pay attention on who is watching Cocomelon and track how they grow up, on if they actually can adapt to the real world or if they're stuck in Cocomelon land in their brain. I mean, Cocomelon is, I believe, the number 3 YouTube channel in the world, but number 1 when it comes to for kids. So,
I I've never seen that. I've never showed it to my kids. I don't know what, like, I've heard it, but only in like a meme context. So I have no idea what it is.
yeah, I mean, I've only seen it when I was at one of my relatives' houses, and they had it on the TV, and it's just a bunch of silly cartoon characters and very, very low level. Like, I think kids are supposed to grow out of that shit real quick, but they keep it at like the very, like, I understand they have some curriculum in there that's like counting and like alphabet stuff or like just very simple concepts. But I mean, I can't imagine doing that more than a year for a child, because it's like by the time a year passes, it's like they pretty much already absorbed the curriculum that that show tries to give. Um, so it's like I might not say that Cocomelon is terrible for everybody. I'm just thinking that there's a shelf life on that that's eventually move on to something that's greater. I know when I was really young, I would listen to books on tape. So I'd play video games and listen to books on tape. So while I was playing video games, it kind of trained my mind to be able to do stuff while I listened to the books. Um, and I think that's when I got really, really into psych stuff, is when I was listening to books at such a young age. And then I'd listen to Dr. Laura Schlesinger. She was this counselor type female personality who was on the radio back when the radio was like a thing people talked about. And people would call in about their relationship problems, and she would work through the problems with the person. So she would get people that would call in with so many different types of issues, which I thought was amazing, which I think that kids should get encounters with. They should listen to how adults deal with their issues. I mean, it's like someone would call in and be like, I got into an argument with my husband or wife, and this is what we argue about. And then the doctor, Laura Schlesinger, which she would kind of like talk through the ideas with the person who called in. and sometimes the caller was just a brat, and sometimes the caller had some good points. But overall, it was really good for me to just listen to adult conversations without me really getting involved, which is very analogous to how when people get into an engineering job, they'll say, don't touch anything for a whole year, just take notes on what everybody else is doing, which is almost what I think that kids, as they start going to adolescence and then they start going from adolescence to young adult, there should be a stage of like where they don't participate, they just listen and watch. uh, like, don't talk until they've actually heard other people talking for a whole year at that level. Now, maybe they've already done that when they're younger, but for people who haven't just spent at least a year just listening to podcasts just over and over and over and over of people having long form conversations, I think they kind of spoil their ability to listen to long form conversations. Because if they just like jump in with random ideas thinking that they can compete, it's like, no. People who are just joining as an engineer, even if they've done a master's in engineering where they spent 5-6 years of their life, even they are behind when it comes to the real world. Like my friend who's a laser engineer manager, that's how he first started. He first started just being like, don't touch anything, just take notes. And then after a year, then he started doing stuff, and then people would see what he was doing and be like, okay, what he's doing makes a lot of sense and is really good at what he does. So, yeah, so I think what I'm getting down to is that I think kids should be listening to more mature conversations, even if they don't participate.
Yeah. And observing more and being encouraged to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I was in college, and I mean, I started going to college when I was 15 because as a homeschool situation, I don't really need to go to high school. I can just take the Chesapeake, which was like a proficiency exam, and so I can just take that test. They give me my diploma, and then I go for my just start going for college. But college is a lot for a kid to really encounter at 15. um, but yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of kids can skip high school and just go straight to college. One reason why I still did some high school stuff was with a speech and debate club that only allowed high schoolers. So I still had to technically be in high school to be able to participate. So I was participating in that stuff when I was around 16 and 17 and 18 era. But I remember going to the college and they had a debate with just a random guy that was running a club, and he wanted to debate, I guess, gun control. So he said anybody that shows up can just get on the mic and just talk. Because almost like doing what Charlie Kirk was doing, but way, 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 way back without being filmed. Just people hanging out in a room trying to talk about something. Which I think that's how it should be. I mean, recording is also possible to try to give those conversations to others so it's not just stuck in that room. But, I mean, it was a good experience for me. It was almost a core memory of mine where I was this 16, 17-year-old kid who just barely started learning these concepts. I would do that one book of fallacy detector that I gave to people on my server. And I just basically was using that stuff to point out fallacies. And then there was no one that wanted to take the anti gun control. So I was like, I like guns, and I did a lot of arguments about it, and I ended up winning because it first started where the guy said that he was going to do gun control as his argument, but if anyone wanted to do that, he could take the other side in a Rogerian fashion. Rogerian meaning be able to take both sides with equal abilities. And so he says that even though he believes in gun control, he'd be willing to flip sides if anybody wants to take his side, because he's just trying to get someone to talk to. Because he's like, he showed up and no one wanted to be on the other side. And so he's like, well, if nobody does that, then he'll just flip. And then, like, if nobody, and we had like a whole room of people. It was like 50 people, a bunch of chairs filled. So a ton of people, but just a bunch of just like looky-loos. People just like to look. And so I guess I raised my hand and I came to the front, and then and then at the end of it, no one really wanted to take the other side anymore, because he would have people raise their hands, because he could at least get them to raise their hands on stuff. So at the end of it, people rose their hand for me, that they thought that I made the better points. Because my main thing was like, right now, who would rather have a gun if someone walked in here trying to go blasting? And then everybody just like, yeah, I would want a gun in that moment. And I'm like, so that was like one of my arguments. And the guy was like, that's too simple of an argument. And I'm like, not really. I mean, yeah, it is, but it being simple does not make it incorrect. It's just, thank you for letting me know how sensical it is.
Yeah, I think it's also like that's the city, people who grew up and live in the cities and like live around people all the time. Like guns for them are used against people. But I live in the freaking woods. Like in the like I need a gun to shoot like a coyote or to kill like some of my livestock. Like I don't have large livestock right now, but if I have to butcher a pig, how am I going to kill that thing? Like I need a gun. It's a tool to use and to defend myself and like from like or to I mean I can't hunt on my property, but we do get deer and wild turkey and stuff. So I'm like I think people who grew up in the city too have like a
Wait,
skewed
what do you mean you
perspective
can't
on
hunt on
gun.
your property?
It's only 8 acres, so I can't shoot a gun on a small tract of land like that and guarantee that the bullet will stay on the land. I guess I could like probably no one would. I
Yeah.
can't even see my neighbors. Like I don't know.
Yeah. It,
I
it
would
is
definitely hear
quite a lot. I mean, I think that's a lot. Um, but yeah, when it comes to raising kids, I'm thinking about like raising them for what? Like, and not only that, but if we try to plan for the future, how would we want our kids to raise our grandkids and going on there? Like, if we look to the future, how do we want our great grandkids to be living? Like, what type of quality world do I want them to be in? And I think at that stage, I think that my grandkids are going to be more into space stuff. I mean, right now it's kind of warming up like a frog, but I think there will be a turning point. I think there's going to be a point, a focal point where something happens where it's like, okay, everybody's going to space now. And then like a lot of people sign up for that stuff.
before space. I think it's going to be like it has to be something about human biology, about how we protect our biology from the environment that we would be putting ourselves into by going like through space travel or even just now like through we've radically changed the environment with like radio frequency, electromagnetic fields, like non-native EMFs, like blue light at night, and that does disrupt our like we have a biological response to it. Like blue light at night raises your insulin. It creates insulin resistance, and you can get diabetes from just having a bad circadian rhythm. So I think there's going to be more discussion about how do we protect our our health from how we've evolved and the conditions we've evolved under first to before we enter into space because that's going to be a different
Well, I think it's going to be happening in
environment.
tandem. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
I mean
going to have people that are doing
it
the
would.
laser stuff, technology, people doing quantum, people doing all these different types of tech.
Yeah,
And I mean, my quantum stock absolutely ballooned. Say it got really big. I don't know if it's going to go back down again, but I know quantum is next, but we don't know how far away it is. Some people say 10 years, some people say 2 years, some people are like 50. But I think with all this new technology of AI being able to help people with their intellectual activities, especially in the workplace, I think there's going to be a lot more innovation with it. I mean, AI can even find new things that humans were not able to find, especially with pattern recognition. Like AI can detect patterns probably better than humans can. But when it comes to what to teach kids, it's trying to get them into math, engineering, and then for more of the mental stuff, making sure that they understand adaptive coping mechanisms and learning
Yeah.
how to research stuff and learning how to apply themselves and advocate for themselves, such as calling places of interest, trying to pick their brain. Like when I got hired at one of the facilities I worked at, I would call every day and try to plot who I was talking to. So I'd be like, okay, I'm talking to John today. Okay, today I'm talking to Mark. Okay, today I'm talking to Joe. Oh, today I'm talking to Eric. So I just like go around and take notes in a Word document. And so there were over 200. There were over 200 applicants that try to apply to the job I got, and they only let around 3 to 4 people in. And so it's like I was able to beat at least 25 other people, if not more, because some of the hires might have been just like a slingshot in because they're like family or whatnot, like nepotism, because nepotism happens all the time in the real world. Uh,
Yeah.
so it's like I don't know how many people I actually beat in those 200 people when I was one of the 3 to 4 people that got hired um, for the position I was doing. But yeah, I think the main issue, the main reason why I got hired is because even though I was young, I still called around the facility, called them and said, "Hey, how's it like being in the unit and this and that?" And since it was a supermax prison, they had no internet access and no phone access, so I mean, no, like personal phone, so they can't like look up stuff, um,
Mm.
or they can't like call people and whatnot. But they have their landline or like the phone to the actual prison, and so when they would get called, they had plenty of time in the world to have conversations. I mean, unless something started happening, then they would have to hang up on me. But until then, they're just down to yap on the phone with me. Like, it's sort of strange just to have people that I could just like literally call and they have like nothing better to do because they're just stuck there next to a phone, like waiting until something happens. um, but anyway, I like call them and try to figure out what life really was working inside the prison, like how scary it was, uh, like how it is dealing with an inmate. So just trying to ask all these different questions, which they valued because people are really defined by the questions that they ask. And so they started to define me based on the questions that I asked. And when I started working there, my mentors would tell me that they don't really want to hear my answers until I ask a good question. So I would be like yapping a lot, and they'd be like, they don't care because they already know what I'm talking about. Uh, because they were doing that job longer than I was even born, and more than I was alive for. So, like, what can I actually tell them? I'd be like, oh, yeah, I learned this thing on YouTube about cognitive dissonance. Oh, I learned about the Dunning-Kruger effect. Oh, I learned about blah, 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 blah. And they're like, yeah, that's Psycho 101. I learned that over 10 years ago, is what they would tell me. Like, they're like, yes, yep, that is an effect and a theory and a dynamic that we are aware of, and it's kind of rudimentary about what we're actually dealing with in here. um, so then I learned to ask them a lot of questions, and that they are also my mentors that taught me the importance of paying attention to incorrect U language. Which I don't know. Have I ever had a conversation with you about incorrect U language?
I think we briefly have talked about it, but not in depth. I will sometimes use incorrect U language.
Yeah, because I know
But
that's a common conversation that I might have with people on my YouTube. People probably getting tired of it already, but seriously speaking, like that's the number one way to detect a manipulator. Maybe on accident, maybe incidentally, maybe opportunistically, maybe not too much malicious intent, but it's an autopilot projection. Sometimes it's projecting their limitations onto me or trying to talk for me. And so the fastest way for me to detect an inmate was trying to manipulate me is just detect whenever they started saying you to me. Then they're bringing me up and they're speaking on my behalf and speaking to me and for me, and it starts to blur. Because the thing is, some people think of conversations like, oh yeah, we're having a conversation and we're just chilling, but them they are having this operation of trying to cut certain lines in the boundaries that are possibly not too heavy of boundary crosses, but they are taking notes on which ones they already crossed. Even if it's just something super, super small as saying, yeah, so you're passing pills and then you're doing this. Oh, okay. Oh, you're doing this. And then eventually that kind of subconsciously starts having the mind starting to trust listening to them, even though I, I can't listen to them at all. Like, I I had to have like my mentors would tell me like they don't give a fuck about you. Like that's my mentors would tell me like these people like this is not a normal prison. This is a supermax. Like these people are animals. Like we would have people that would we would have to strap them into a backboard to carry them out because they're just so aggressive. Like chain waist chains and leg chains and having to have both batons out and two officers escorting them at all times. I mean, there was an inmate that he said that uh, no matter how many pills we give him, no matter how many uh, therapy sessions we give them, no matter how many times we try to have like these group discussions and talk about their feelings or try to get them into a program and whatnot, like all these things don't matter at the end of the day because all of his friends, all of his family, all of his neighbors, all of his girls he gets with, all the ways that he makes money are all gang related. And so a lot of people don't really think too much about how much gang activity plays a part in society and the fringes of society. And so when I talk about prison, sometimes people are like, oh, that's just prison. Oh, that's just whatever. It's like, well, no. Like when we send someone to prison, it's not like, oh, happy ever after. Like when the person gets sent to prison, they're still somewhere doing something in the world. And sometimes they advocate for more rights for criminals. And if there's not people to respond to their rights pushing for criminals, then criminals will get more rights. And that's kind of what has happened and how it's happened is that we put people into a box and are like, oh, all they can do is really just like go to the law library and think about how to find a loophole in the system. Whoa, how do they find all these loopholes all the time? What? So, uh, anyway, so the thing about inmates is that the vast majority of them are extremely, extremely dumb. But the ones that are like the shot callers, the ones that lieutenants, captains, sergeants in the gang, the higher ranking people, because it's a hierarchy, those ones are um, like reading a ton of books, like an astounding amount of books. In their cell, it's just filled max capacity. They basically fill their cell with books until we tell them to stop. So it's not like they reached their own limit. They reached our limit on how much we're willing to have them have books in their cell because they would have books lining to the top because they would process like a wall of books in like a week. And so, because they would read around 5 books a day. And so, and this is them self-reporting, and I believe them, because when I would walk by their cell, I would see them like in a different book. Like it seemed like their behavior was indicative that they were consuming an enormous amount of material. Uh, But some material is banned. Um, some material, such as 48 Laws of Power. There's some other books that are banned. But that book is very advanced, and I think I tell this to you all the time, where 48 Laws of Power is an advanced book that breaks people's brains when they don't have a lot of the beginner level books in already. And that's because when they do that book, they get hyper paranoid and they don't even learn communication tactics with others or themselves. They just learn, oh, this person might be manipulating. This person might be manipulating me now. Oh, this person might be manipulating me now, and how to manipulate others. Blah, blah, blah. But they don't really think about how to have adaptive, pro-social encounters with people that aren't out to get them. But if they treat everybody as out to get them, then it's the philosophy principle of, if we treat a friend like an enemy, they become an enemy. If we treat anybody like an enemy, they become an enemy. Um, Based on resentment or whatever. So, I kind of went into a whole tangent. But when it comes to raising kids, how do we get them not to go there, right? So it's mainly
Yeah.
kids that
Well,
go into gangs. What was that?
there's tiers of it, like tiers of learning. Because you had mentioned before, like that we need to get kids into like these advanced like engineering and sort of like higher fields, but that's like they're kind of older at that point. It's like the formation really begins for like at when these children are young, like 2, 3, 4,
I
like
got a
they're
book that's
beginning.
called Rocket Science for Babies. I got one that's Quantum Mechanics for Babies. I got one that's like all these different books that are basically teaching some of the concepts. Obviously, not like formulas and whatnot, but just like overall teaching the building blocks of that in a way that a baby can understand. When I say baby, I mean like as soon as they can start speaking any level of English,
Yeah.
which I think it's like an experiment, because there's some people that aren't doing that. I'm going to do that, and we're going to see whose baby ends up better.
Yeah, I liked there's a math program that I I purchased called Life of Fred, and it's a literature-based math program for like a you can really start it in kindergarten, but it's really like from like kindergarten to like second grade. It's like that kind of range of math, pretty easy, but it teaches kind of the foundations of algebra. And it's a story, so it's a silly story about like a 5-year old who's a college professor, and it's like the kids like it because it's a funny story, but it teaches those concepts in a way they can understand. Like 5 elephants plus 2 elephants is the same as like 5E plus 2E. So starting to think about numbers and symbols and grouping them
Yeah,
together,
and having them
and
done
and
so early allows them to see that as normal, right? Rather than
yeah,
spoon feeding them fucking cocoa melon and it's like, oh my, that's kind of circling back to our conversation about cocoa melon, and it's we should watch those kids grow up, pay take note of who they are, and see if they're broken, see if they're
I mean, I could
see
I
if they're
could tell
timid.
I could tell already which kids, like I have taught 3 classes so far in my kindergarten class. And these are 4 and 5-year olds. So it's like pre-kindergarten, kindergarten. And I can tell which parents have spent, like which parents use screens more than others. I could just tell because there are some kids who cannot even grip a pencil. They can't color. They don't know how to hold a marker. They can't cut with scissors.
I
And
mean,
these
I
are
think the
great.
worst part is with adults not being able to play board games. Like, this is one of my biggest pet peeves right now. It's like, and I encounter adults and it's like having them play a simple game like Dominion, it like breaks their fucking brain. It's crazy.
Yeah,
Like, we had
no,
one that
no.
there was one adult that we had met that we were trying to play Dominion with, and she wasn't even willing to play out a whole turn. Like, she was just breaking down, like upset. I mean, we don't even know what she's upset about. Just
Yeah, you could walk it through. It's like you can
I was
like
like, the
walk the
game
kids.
doesn't matter right now. We're just walking through the mechanics and seeing
Yeah.
how it goes. Like winning and losing doesn't matter right now. We're teaching right now.
Yeah.
We're
Like
trying to teach
that's kind of
like
sad.
in my
My kids are playing
perspective.
Dominion in like third grade, so
Yeah, which is almost like the
well, like
kids that couldn't do arts and crafts can't play board games.
yeah, it's a like just kind of interesting. But that's actually part of the reason why I kicked having a desktop computer out. I didn't want to have a computer in my house. I didn't want that temptation of like watching video games or scrolling on the internet. I didn't want a television. So we did a lot of things. Just we played games, we read books, we built gardens, we did some construction projects. We built a chicken coop together, and that I feel like was we learned so much information. And I bought a ton of books to do that because like I didn't have the internet at home to look things up. I got a smartphone recently, like a year ago. So I've had a flip phone before that, and I just bought books online. I'd go to like the office. We have a business, so I'd go to the office and use a computer there. I'd buy like I don't know 30 books a month, something like that, and just it'd be educational stuff. I'd read it, learn how to do something, learn how to build a chicken coop, how to take care of chickens, how to build a garden, and we just read books and do all the stuff. And that gave them like I did not do any formal schooling with them until my daughter was going into fifth grade. Then I started um, more formal stuff with her. And at the time, I think she struggled a little bit for like maybe 2 months. She struggled because I was having her write down information a lot and try to like work on her handwriting, work more formally on like math problems and solving information. And from that, she just went from like just at a high school level. She's like reading at a high school level. She's doing like pre-algebra right now and she's in seventh grade. And
Yeah.
like, I don't know. It's like, and that's my oldest. So my younger kids too, like once they hit that level, and it really is around fourth grade, which is like between the ages of 9 and 11, there's this sort of transformation over where they're ready to learn at a deeper level, and I can set them on a topic and they can work on their own and with their own interest and their own drive. So like, but before that point, it's like giving them the exposure and the interest and not letting them get distracted. Like they are unable to control their screen time. Like it's difficult for adults to do. And like kids just forget about it. They can't do it. So I have to regulate how they're spending their time. If I give them video games, they will play video games for hours and hours and hours a day.
Yeah.
And
Until
like
they
if you,
fall until they crash.
yeah, yeah. So instead, I'm like, I do let them play video games, but like I'm very specific about it. I'm like, you have to do something like read a book. You have to get your chores done. It has to be not a good day for going outside. So so really there's like not very many opportunities that I let them play video games. And then usually I let them play things like Code Combat is one where it's a game that teaches coding. And then I'll have them play like Zelda and Mario, and I won't let them look up they can't look up how to beat it. So they have to figure out how to solve these games. And they're old games like Nintendo 64. I don't give them the new things because it's just too flashy, too
Yeah.
I don't know. Like you could
It's
do with a
almost
simple
like
thing.
Ocarina of Time, right?
Yeah, that's what they play. So
Yeah.
Majora's
It's a
Mask,
very
Ocarina of Time.
simple puzzle game, and yeah, I enjoyed playing that when I was growing up. Um, that's the question of like, what games are worth playing with them, which ones are worth them treating as like a puzzle thing, also being able to have them listen to a book while they play, even if they're not fully grasping all the concepts. It's just the idea that their brain is getting used to hearing those words, right? It's like it.
Yeah.
We understand that when a baby is really young and they hear people talking, the baby can't really fully understand what people are saying, but that's how the babies learn, just being around people talking. And eventually the baby starts getting a clue on what's, like, they start getting patterns and trying to experiment to get things. Um,
Yeah, and
so,
kids feel they take in a lot more than like you will experience this like when with your kids like I can say like the word like M&M in like two rooms over. They're playing like a Lego game. I'm not even aware that they're listening and they can hear the word that I say. They just like have this ability to clue in. They don't like filter in the information.
yeah,
So it's you'd never know what they're really focusing on or listening to.
yeah. Right. And so there are some people I tell this to, of like, oh, have kids listen to books while they do stuff. And they're like, oh, no, they can't do that. And it's like, what? What do you mean they can't do that? Like, physically? Like, what happens when a book comes on? They just, like, throw a tantrum? Like, what's going on when
Yeah.
they can't?
Yeah. Yeah, that's something I could do a little bit more. Do a lot of reading out loud. So when we're in the car, like we read out loud in the car. Or
Now, my
sometimes
mom would
like
every now and then ask, like, oh, what is the book about? Or like, what's the book talking about? And I'd be able to give, like, a loose understanding of what it is. I mean, just in general, getting a kid to explain what they heard in a book or read in a book is a quite heavy feat. So if the kid's able to give you anything, really, at least if the kid can give me anything, I'm like, okay, at least they're not completely zoned out of what's being talked about.
yeah, like I mean, even my 4-year-old, he can follow along some basic plot points.
Yeah.
But my older kids definitely like they're very engaged. So, but it's yeah, it's varying degrees, and that there's things that they're interested in. Like I could read the Odyssey to my boys, and they love it. They can listen to that all day. But my daughter does not like it. She
What?
just like doesn't care. Like it's uninteresting.
Oh, she just thinks it's uninteresting.
Yeah. So she's my reader too. So it's just kind of funny, like what that there's a kind of a difference. She likes mystery, like the Nancy Drew books, and
Oh yeah, she's yeah.
yeah, that. But she does read a lot of like adventure too, like Redwall and like other kind of fantasy type, like animals fighting in the woods and having bow and arrows and stuff. So she likes the fantasy things, fiction, and she reads like literally any book. She told me she's reading my books now, like my nonfiction books, and that's I'm a little nervous about it, but she's
Which nonfiction
almost
books is she doing?
she read Rupert Sheldrake's like Dogs Who Know When Their Owners Are Coming Home. And it's like his kind of take on these different interesting science questions that science can't really answer, but they're observed and uh it's kind of filed under like that's is like biased or untrue or kind of woo. And he's like, this isn't we need to explore this though, because science can't explain some of these phenomena that have occurred, and neither fully does chance. So there might be something that we just can't see or measure. There's something kind of beyond science that we need to discuss. Uh, so that's the one book that she just read.
I mean, I don't know what I think about. I mean, I I have more of a Archimedean take where things can eventually be measured and detected. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, and that's I think Rupert Sheldrake is not ruling that out, but he's more challenging the fact that because some of these questions border to like woo, that science is not going to look at them with the due respect that they need. Like that there's just this bias in science of like, oh, we can't go there or we can't do this.
Well, I think the
So
main
we should,
reason why they stopped that is because they don't know how to make money in it.
yes, that's another huge factor.
So, as soon as they figure out how to make money in it, then all of a sudden they're gonna research it.
Yeah,
Um,
not all of these things are going to make money really. I just there might be some truth that is going on that is a meaningful extension about reality, and that might just be it. Like it's just we're closer to understanding the truth, and there's not really financial gain in that.
what do you think that people are missing?
Well, I think like obviously it's like I'm Catholic and religious, so I there's more to life than just what we can measure, and I have that belief. I think that more to life than we can measure is that's kind of the realm in which some of these phenomena have occurred. Even like all the AQAL, like all quadrants, all levels, will talk about it in like of the integral stages. How do these things develop? How do humans hit these levels of awareness at all different positions in the earth, like all spaced out nearly at the same time? Kind of phenomenon in like evolution, like these different leaps and abilities occur simultaneously across the globe within very short time of once they emerge. And it's just kind of like this interesting effect that we don't really know why it happens
I
or
mean, to me,
how.
it just sounds like word salad. Like uh, I mean, a lot of things can take time to explore. I don't think encouraging people to say, "Oh, we can't explain this with science," and so it's like, well, what even is it? Because trying to take notes of it and then experiment with it or try to repeat it, that's science. So I don't really understand how science is kind of trying to be pushed aside within that perspective.
Yeah, maybe it's unfair. I guess that could be a perspective. Maybe that would be like an unfair thing. Or it's more of a public perception, but I'm not sure exactly what all of the different things that Rupert Sheldrake was discussing.
Yeah. But anyway, so what other so to me I'm trying to figure out how we're going to get more of our kids and grandkids able to be prepared for the future of how humanity is going to end up. And so, I mean, I think we have to figure out how to standardize operations of rational thought, which within the REBT, rational emotive behavioral therapy modality, that one has 12 irrational thoughts already mapped. But I think that we're in the timeline where it's more of them are going to be mapped, and I'm trying to map a lot of them. I'm trying to map a lot of the different ideas and concepts that we can pathologize, meaning take note of where it's at, and then take note of it happening again, and then see what is the best way to proceed when that comes up in our path. Like we've been there before, we've done that before, so now we can try to take notes and do it better. And part of it is like Karenology, and we're trying to figure out what do Karens do that tricks the system to give it what it wants, right? Like what skills are the Karens doing and getting away with? Because it seems like a lot of people, they might know what the Karen is doing is not good, but they don't really understand how to describe or define it in an actionable way to respond to it. Like they know
Yeah.
something's up, but they don't know really what to do in the moment. Like, they can't really understand what is happening. They just know that some bullshit's happening.
Part of it, I think, is a difference in men and women. Like Pearl will talk about sometimes like women, how they will defend other women from doing for like terrible things. Like women have done horrible things. And then the women will be like, well, it's not like kind of minimize
Yeah.
the horrible things.
Yeah.
And they don't hold other women accountable. They always get a pass.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
Pearl is
I've
kind
seen
of,
that where it's like even on my Discord server, a girl will start complaining, and then all the other girls are like, "Yeah, stop being so mean." Blah, blah, blah. Like they start like hen housing, and
yeah.
it's like, and it ends up that the girl that they thought was a girl that they're defending is just some dude that just had a female profile, or appearing foot profile. And it's like I know that my girl used to do that type of behavior. It's like trying to rescue another female until she realized that most females are getting what they deserve, which is getting like some people are like, oh, I deserve all these great things, but we fail to mention that a lot of people do deserve the negative outcomes and consequences that they're receiving. But if we try to just be like, oh, negative consequences happening, therefore that's not right, it's like, well, what did they do that got them there? Like, what behaviors are they doing to do better and advocate for themselves, or are they just going to try to complain until someone else fixes it for them?
Yeah. And they can see it to their advantage when they say like, oh, the meta for women is like that people are bad and they have told women that they're bad at science and math. And so then if you kind of block if someone decides to block a girl from going into a math program because she sucks at math, then it's like, oh, well, it's because I'm a girl. You're blocking me because I'm a girl. And it's like, no, I'm blocking you because you're not good at this. So
Yeah,
like
yeah, like
they cannot, but it's not to their advantage to admit their own weakness. It's to their advantage to play the victim and
learn
be like,
drama,
I
learn
need to be protected.
theater skills.
Yeah.
Yeah, which a lot of women learn in Pavlovian mechanisms where they learn based on trial and error of just like watching. That's why a lot of girls like watching drama shows, like reality TV shows, is because they just, oh, how does Kim Kardashian respond in this situation, or whatever the female personality that they're watching. They
Well,
go,
yeah,
oh, they're
it starts
panicking. Okay,
with
da da da
little
da.
kids.
Like that's how they're learning. They're just learning from copy and pasting, monkey see, monkey do situation.
Yeah,
But
little kids do this though. Like
yeah,
my 6-year-old daughter she's a perpetual victim. Like she'll just like annoy her brothers and then finally they like have enough and they snap. And then he's like, "Oh, she says he was mean to me."
yeah,
And I was like, "And what did you do? Nothing, right?" But but it's always like, "Help, he's hurting me. Help, I can't do it." And I'm like I'm like, "Can you just help yourself? Like you can
yeah.
help yourself."
Yeah, a lot of people don't spend 10 seconds trying to figure out their own problems. But
Yeah, and it's especially my girls, and I'm like I get a little bothered by that, but it's they need additional help to realize that it's a default mode that they're like they are programmed that way almost. Like it's just the difference. My boys were never that way, and this is after. So I had my daughter first, and then 3 boys, and then my another daughter. So my oldest was this way, my 3 boys were not, and my my fifth is that way. They're both the girls. I'm like, the oldest can make her way because she's the oldest, so she usually doesn't have to play victim because she's stronger than everybody for now
yeah,
still, but
yeah. I
I try
mean,
to
I
tell her that
think that
not to.
when I talk to guys a lot, they try to explain their ideas and their logic to the girl. They try to sound smart on paper to girls, and they might even be smart. But what happens is that all the girl really hears is just mama, 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 mama. Like it's just they. If a girl doesn't spend hours every day trying to absorb logic and practice logic with their friends and family and people in their life and school and whatnot, um, then they're not really going to even compete at any level that guys are, right? Because I know guys that they spend hours every day basically running through puzzles and video games and talking about, like, they debate stuff with friends and they do all that, like logical conversations, or even read books about it. And then there'll be a girl who doesn't do any books, doesn't do any studying, doesn't do any of that. All she does is just like watch Netflix all day, reality TV show type stuff. And then like will have this arrogance behind her mind that tells her that she is at the level of whatever she watched on TV, even though she has practiced none of these skills in real life, and that she hasn't spent any time actually learning logic. Because learning logic is very difficult. It gets almost everybody to cry because it's like we have to let go of those emotions and just focus on the words. And when the girl says, "Oh, that was mean," it's like, but was it wrong? Was it incorrect? uh, because it's like an appeal to like a purity of like, oh, was it treating me nice or not, rather than was this the correct or not correct idea. And logic doesn't really care about our feelings. It's just, was this the correct or not correct idea? And so when girls have spent years of not studying this stuff, and then the men have spent years of their life studying this stuff, then it ends up being where girls are nowhere in ability to even contend in a logical conversation.
Yeah, and it's the
Because what
culture
happens is
kind
the
of
guy will just
reinforcing it
dominate
too.
them. It's almost like someone who does jujitsu, and they're like a black belt jujitsu person who's been doing it for 10 years, and then a person like just joins, and then they it's not that the black belt is mean or not, it's just that the black belt never loses. And so then the white belt will be like, oh, I'm upset, I never win, oh no, I never win. And it's like, yeah, because they don't deserve the win, because they're very not skilled.
Yeah.
Trying
Well, they're
to
they're
complain to
skilled
get
in
the
a
win
different.
doesn't matter. What?
Yeah, yeah, they're skilled in a different uh like it's a different arena that they're fighting in for
That
like social status and like there's just different things that women are trained toward and that are working toward than men are. Like men actually have to go and do something in reality.
Right,
Like
and
no one's giving
that's
stuff to
the
them.
finish line girls. Finish line girls are the girls that don't want to run in the race, don't want to learn how to compete in the race. They don't want to start at the they don't want to start at the start line. The only thing they care about is being at the finish line and trying to seduce a winner, which another way to say that is like a pick me girl, but I say seduce a winner because there's a lot of winners that have a lot of money, like nerds, like engineers, but
Yeah.
anybody could seduce them really, because they don't know how to actually like present themselves in a way that girls would seem to they would see cool, or they don't get out much. And so the girl sees this guy as timid and is like, great, this guy doesn't get out much, even though he's like an engineer making a fuck ton of money. So she tries to seduce him, which is not difficult. Uh, Especially since the girl has been spending her life learning how to put on a face care routine, learning how to do her nails, learning how to do her toes, learning how to do her hair, like all the like when I was at one of these family functions, like the guys and the girls kind of naturally broke off into their own little talk groups. And I was overhearing the girls talk group, and they're just basically talking about their skin routines for a
Yeah.
long time. Like how like I understand if they're going to talk about it, but like they were really Like that was the number one thing they wanted to talk about.
Yeah,
When guys get
that's why.
together and they're like bullshitting with each other, oh, playing a video game with each other, trying to see who can get better at the game, uh, that type of stuff. And so they're actually competing, and competition leads to having that. But girls are more competing on what guy can they get based on how they look. Because increasing their looks, what does that do? That increases their competition in seduction. Like a girl that's hotter can pull a dude that's a higher league. But like there's a lot of girls that are really really hot, but having a 10-minute conversation with even a 5-minute conversation, and it's really like this girl has no personality. She has no ability to self start anything or have a conversation about anything really. I mean, we try to play a board game with them and they just, what? Ha 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 ha. What? Ha 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 ha. I don't know. Ha ha. And it's. But yeah, we're almost at an hour, so I did want to wrap us up on the conversation we're having. We had a lot, but I think we're ending on kind of like the differences between men and women.
Yeah, and it starts with how they're raised too. I mean, they learn these behaviors at a young age, and it's reinforced
Yeah,
by the culture, by the community.
yeah, yeah. But then again, I mean, I do think that men are smarter. I mean, that's mainly because, but also dumber, right? The curve shows that women are more average, and men are both extremes, both extremely
Yeah.
stupid and extremely smart. And in these zones of competition, like video game competitions, only the smartest of the guys actually rise to the top. And no girls can compete with a guy that's at his apex abilities, right?
Yeah.
So, like that's why there's no female sports, uh, internet sports. There's no
Yeah.
female professional esport player that's at the very top of the league.
Hey, women can compete in competitive knitting with men
I
on the
think that
same
men would
level.
still win.
No, there's actually just there's only a handful of things that women actually compete with the top tier
Oh,
or like
really?
our actual competition. Yeah.
You think
So
that's because of like small
competitive,
hands or something? Like,
I'm not sure, but
because I
one of
think there's
the
some
another one is
activities that
actually
small hands can be better, like threading the needle and such.
yeah. There's like the competitive like long distance swimming or something like that is another weird one. But I think it's the higher amount of body fat that women have that helps them in that arena, like swimming in the ocean, like in cold water. So I'd have to look it up again. But I was, yeah, looking, trying to find, I was like, surely women must
Oh,
be able to compete
another
in
thing that women do
something.
better is they get more fat than men. That
Yeah, well, I mean,
for every
that's because you
one
need fat
obese
to
man, there are
grow a
20
baby
women
brain.
that are obese. It's
Well,
quite heavy.
women
What?
need fat to grow baby brains. Like your fat, like you need fat for your hormones to grow babies. So,
Yeah,
or
but not
women
that
do.
fat.
That's,
Not
yeah, not that fat.
not
But
talking
that's why,
about 300-pound whales
yeah,
that
that's
are
why,
5'6". Like
yeah,
I'm
it's
not
true.
talking
But
about,
this is
oh, she has some
why,
curves. I'm talking about that her curves have curves.
yeah. But that is
And I think you know who I'm
why
talking
women
about.
gain.
The like,
I do know, yeah.
yeah, the honey boo boo, those level of fat, like absolute, like generational fat. That level of fat has been passed down for generations. God.
And
Uh,
I think more of that be discovered about
well, I
like
think
blue
it's
light
the
has a
I think
lot to do with it.
a fat mind leads to a fat body. It's the same way that I think that people that are hoarders of material are also hoarders of ideas, where they can't let things go in their mind, so they keep onto the past, and then they can't stay in the present of how fat they are, and then they lie to themselves, and so all these maladaptive coping mechanisms that are preventing them to think straight and actually apply themselves to getting better. And not only that, but the hormones too. Like when someone gets more fat, and they've done studies on this and they've practiced. Like there's a guy that he on purpose gained 20 pounds so that way he could prove to people that he could like he was a fitness coach. Have you ever seen that show? It's a pretty cool show. Some guy uh basically is this thin dude that's like, yo, losing weight's so easy. I'm going to on purpose gain 20 pounds by just like pounding ice cream and like random shit. He basically copied fat people diet on steroids, gained 20 pounds, and then he said, yes, it's very, very difficult because the ideas get more sluggish. Like the hormones do affect the minds when they have too much fat. And so when someone actually gets thin, they can actually think more straight. They might make less excuses, as like that's how it's going to symptomize in cognition.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't really trust fat people because I mean, they were not able to really, like, they betrayed themselves. Like they like if I can't, if they are not trustable in taking care of themselves, why should I put any of my things in their hands? I also think
Yeah.
that fat people might have an indirect or like a passive suicidal ideation where like it might not be fully formed in their mind, but it's almost like a person that smokes cigarettes where they know that they'll die faster by smoking cigarettes, but like at least they'll enjoy themselves getting there, which is very analogous to fat people where they're like, they know that eating food makes them unhealthy and that they're going to die faster from it, but at least they're going to enjoy that hamburger with ice cream. And so, or at least they get to avoid doing a bad or a difficult activity. So I do think that there's some level of suicidal ideation within fat people, whether or not they can admit it to themselves or not. It's like at some level they've given up. And so I ask a question of a lot of more obese people. I ask them about would they want to live forever if they could. And the vast majority, like 95% of people, that the fat people that I ask, always say no, that they wouldn't want to live forever. And so that kind of implies to me that like they've kind of given up in their life, that like their mind gave up before their body, and their body's just catching up to their mind who gave up.
Yeah. Well, they also, it could be like an inability to deal with things that are unpleasant, or difficult, because that would be like, oh, if I live forever, then I have to deal with the pain of losing everyone I love. Or if
Yeah.
you have to
So
say no
that's
to
what's
something
called.
right now, well,
I think
that's,
that's called an anti-fact. An
yeah,
anti-fact, especially when that's a this is a thought experiment, right? A thought experiment is, if you could, what
yeah,
would you want to? It's a hypothetical, which does not prescribe the idea that, oh, everybody else would die around you, but they add in that
yeah,
negative conceptualization of the thought experiment. They could have a better interpretation of like, oh, great, I can make new friends along the way, or oh, if it happened to me, then other people might experience the same exact option too, right? But instead of thinking that, they just jump straight to, all my friends are gonna die and I'm gonna hate it. So it's like a
yeah,
very negative self-conceptualization of the thought experiment. And that's why that thought experiment explores and exposes their negative self-perceptions. And like for a lot of these fat people, like if as soon as the people in their life die, they are just going to be like, I'm done. Um, and I mean, I remember Asmongold in his latest conversation when his dad passed, and he talked about how his dad had the conversation of like, His dad is not his friend. His dad is not uh, his buddy. His dad is there to make sure that Asmongold can keep living after his dad is gone, right? So it's like in the same
Hmm.
way, it's like we don't have to be nice to our kids. We have to make sure that they can keep going after I'm no longer here, because that will
Yeah.
be inevitable. In the good, a good circumstance would make that happen where I die before them. Like that is a good scenario. Because we right, because we want our kids to live longer than us.
Yeah. Yeah, and live good lives. I think that's kind of the more important is that they live a good life because I can't control. I mean, the tragedies happen and stuff. So, but yeah, the hope is that they go on, just like being able to equip them to do that.
Right, and so it's like trying to so for so many years, the adults before us were trying to find the best ways to speed run learning and such. And I think that our generation is the first one that we now have access to this AI technology to teach people. And we're like, we don't know if this is gonna, we don't know if this is gonna fuck people up, or, I mean, I'm sure it's gonna have good and bad, right? So that's one thing where people will go, oh, it's so awful, but they won't talk about the good parts of it too, right? Or when someone says, oh, it's so amazing, they won't talk about the bad parts of it too, because it's going to have both. Um, I mean, already we're encountering these people that are like, I'd rather talk to AI than other people. There's several people like
Yeah.
that have been on the server and are still on the server where they prefer just talking to the AI over other humans.
You know, it was actually funny. There was like I took the application questions of one of the applicants, and I started having a discussion. I was like, how would this person respond with ChatGPT? I was like, here's like their information. And I just had like a really long discussion with like what that person would have would have said like based on their answers. And it
So
was
wait.
actually
You have
funny.
like
I'm
AI
like,
pretend to be them and you like argue with them?
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, well, I don't have to talk to this person now.
Yeah, it's like I've already absorbed the personality life form.
Yeah.
Like,
It was like one of the AI, it was like one of the feminist ones who was like the one of the I don't even know.
yeah.
I kind of already get her ideas anyway, but
Yeah. Well, like a lot of the personality has been devoured, so they don't really have a personality. Like they let their algorithm do the thinking for them.
yeah.
It's like they talk about stuff and then their algorithm will show them related content, and then that related content will steer them in the direction of who knows. Like I'm sure some people know where that direction is going, but it just sucks that there's so many more idiot plots where I can be a room full of 20 people and all 20 of them are absolutely retarded, right? And it's I used to be like, oh, that's so conceited, or oh, that's so arrogant, but I'm like, none of them have done books, none of them write, none of them can have a conversation for longer than 10 minutes, none of them can play a board game, none of them, like, just down the list of incompetency of just a general conversation, but then they'll try to invalidate, like, people don't have to like games, people don't have to play, people blah, blah. So they just try to find like copium and excuses for why they cannot. Well, I can, I just don't. It's like, no, they can't. I try to keep it like that, where when they try to pretend like they're able to but not willing, to me it's the same outcome where they don't. So if they don't because they can't, or they don't because they're unwilling, I just still see their unwilling as a skill issue also, right? Because someone who's not willing, it's a skill to be willing to do something. uh, so someone who doesn't like practice the skill of being willing to do something that's frustrating, they're going to have a very low frustration tolerance, meaning that when something's frustrating, it only takes a little bit of frustration for them to tap out, short circuit, move on to something else, or pretend like they're the victim for being taught something new. And that's another thing that a lot of people are not willing to really operate when they don't know something. When they don't know something, they just let it go rather than ask, what does that word mean? And so then the people that let learning go, where they don't actually clue into like, wait, what was that word again? I don't understand that concept. Like, for the people that that don't sleep on a conversation, they actually try to figure out the problem and solution, versus the people that give up early. The person who doesn't give up early is going to win in every single encounter because they've spent years with that habit of actually finding the right answer rather than complaining or being the victim or being like, I don't even like this, not even my preference. I'm not interested. And so that's that weaponized disinterest that Karens do, where they have low skill at something, unwilling to admit it, and still like pretend like they can compete in it. And it's like, no, they can't. And when they don't want to talk about the meta, they don't want to talk about the rules. Like, why do I want to respect their abilities when they don't even know how to play the game or develop their own skills and scaffold their skills to be better over time?
Yeah.
But I was going to
It's
end
like
it because
it reminds.
I was going to end the recording unless there's
Okay.
something else you're going to say.
Well, I was just gonna. It reminds me of like the Twilight Bella thing. You know, like all the books that women like to consume of like the main character girl has no personality and like isn't gifted in anything, has no like special skills. She's just like an average, like dull person. But then all the special people like her, and then oh no, she has like some magical like Deus Ex Machina like thing
Yeah,
power for some random reason, and
yeah,
that's like what women want to believe.
right.
I'm
And
like,
that's
oh,
that's the arrogance porn that I think women
yeah,
consume in an enormous amount, where they watch a TV show with a female protagonist, and that will fuel their ego of like, yeah, I'm blah blah blah, because they'll watch that as their main curriculum of programming, and of where
yeah,
the girl in the TV show is this arrogant, cocky, has superpowers to be able to kick ass of a 6'5" guy with her finger, and like that's fake. But then the girl will then go through life thinking that like that is a reality. Like when my girl watches these type of TV shows, I tell her the most fictional thing about all those things is that the girl was able to beat up the guy. Not that the girl was flying, not that the girl was like shooting laser beams out her eyes. It's the fact that she beat a dude. It's like in
yeah.
reality, that just does not happen. It might happen, but it is very, very, very rare, and not for the women that put in no effort. Like the women that put in no
Mm.
effort, they have zero chance of winning in a competition. It's not the I was born this way. Like that's one of the main lies that the society has sold people is the oh I was born this way. I don't have to spend time learning skills. But anyway, I was gonna end it because we are around 70 minutes.